Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, something's changed, but I can't explain it? Not in your makeup, not in your haircut, but in your presence. You see it, and so does everyone else. Strangers glance longer. Old friends pause mid-sentence. They can feel it too, even if they don't have the language for it, because something holy is surfacing. Something divine that was hidden is now beginning to show. This is not imagination. It's not coincidence. And it's not cosmetic. It is written in Exodus 34 that after Moses spent time in the glory of God, his face shone, visibly, with divine radiance. What if I told you that same radiance is now beginning to appear on those whom God has marked in this generation? Yes, the ones who've been through fire, the ones who've been overlooked, the ones who carry a spiritual assignment that heaven refuses to let the world ignore. Here at Chosen One's Sanctuary, we're not here to sell beauty. We're here to reveal purpose, the kind that rewrites not just your life, but the reflection in your mirror. Because if you've noticed your appearance changing in ways you can't explain, if your skin glows even when you're weary, if your posture has grown stronger even under pressure, then you're not imagining things. God is changing your exterior to match the fire He placed inside. And not everyone will understand it. Some will be drawn to it. Others will be disturbed by it. But no one will be able to ignore it. Stay with me until the end of this message, because what we're about to uncover goes far beyond beauty, beyond health, beyond time itself. This is about a holy transformation reserved for the chosen ones, and the visible sign that your mission is not just spiritual, it's also becoming physical. Let's begin. The unseen work behind the glow. There is a light in you that wasn't there before. It isn't artificial. It doesn't come from lotions, sunlight, or camera filters. It's something holy, something earned in silence, refined in fire, and revealed in time. Most people will never understand what they're witnessing. They'll call it good genes, self-care, or positive energy. But they are only speaking of fruit, not root. Because the truth is, your appearance has begun to change, not because of what you've done to your body, but because of what heaven has done in your spirit. This radiance is not aesthetic. It is evidence. Evidence that your prayers were not just words, that your surrender was not just symbolic, that your long nights of wrestling with God were not in vain. Every moment you chose to walk in obedience instead of ease, every time you turned away from compromise and walked the lonely road of righteousness, heaven saw it. And now, that unseen obedience is becoming seen. Scripture says in Exodus 34 that Moses came down from Mount Sinai and didn't know that his face was shining. He was simply walking in the afterglow of an encounter. The people were afraid to come near him, not because he had changed his clothes or posture, but because God's presence had left a visible mark on his being. So it is with the chosen ones. The glow you carry is not cosmetic. It is the residue of consecration, and it cannot be faked, bought, or replicated. It is a spiritual fingerprint, a silent proof that the presence of God has passed over you, stayed with you, and called you out. This is why people now stare longer, why some are drawn and others disturbed. Your body is becoming a scroll, a visible testimony, and every line on your face, every tone in your voice, every spark in your eyes speaks of fire you've walked through and didn't burn. But be warned, if you dismiss this glow as coincidence or hide it to avoid attention, you may also delay the unveiling of your assignment. The glow is not for your ego. It is the Lord's way of marking you as ready. And readiness always demands response. The evidence of glory is not always loud, but it is never invisible, which is why the next sign begins not in your reflection, but in the hands of the one who formed you. Heaven's sculptor is reshaping you. There is a holy hand upon you, not metaphorical, not poetic, but literal in its consequences. God is not just renewing your heart, He is sculpting your form, adjusting your frame, lifting what was slouched by sorrow, and steadying what once trembled with fear. You may not feel the touch, but your body does. Your posture is changing. Your walk is firmer. The heaviness you once carried in your shoulders has begun to lift, not because life got easier, but because the burden of self has been replaced by the weight of glory. This is the mysterious work of Heaven's sculptor. He doesn't need scalpels or syringes. His tools are obedience and surrender. His medium is your willingness to be broken and rebuilt. And His masterpiece is you. Consider how God dealt with the prophet Jeremiah. He took him to the potter's house and told him to watch, to observe how clay is shaped, broken, and reshaped in the potter's hands. That was not just a lesson in sovereignty. It was a revelation of identity. The chosen must be moldable, and those who refuse the shaping often remain outwardly unchanged because they've resisted inward transformation. But you did not resist. You allowed God to remake you in secret, to strip away what was superficial and false, to sand down your pride and wash away your fear. And now, the result is being etched into your very form. There is a symmetry returning to your life, not just in your schedule, but in your face. There is harmony returning to your being, not just in your habits, but in your voice. This is the kind of alignment that makes time bow. It's what causes people to ask, what changed, when you haven't said a word? But understand this. When God begins to shape the exterior, it is not decoration. It is deployment. He is preparing you for visibility. He is making you undeniable. And like Esther, your appearance is not a reward. It is a doorway. The king will call for you. The room will notice you. But your purpose will not be found in the palace. It will be found in the deliverance you were born to bring. Do not underestimate what He is doing. You are no longer a person blending into the crowd. You are a vessel being unveiled, reshaped by the same hands that formed galaxies. And now, as your body begins to testify, the Spirit begins to speak louder than words. And the world, unable to name it, will only say, "There's something different about you," but heaven already named it. Set apart. The body testifies to the Spirit. Your body is speaking, not in words, but in revelation. It tells a story without a voice. It preaches without a pulpit. When God begins a transformation in the Spirit, it never stays hidden for long. Eventually, the physical must yield to the spiritual, and the outer man begins to mirror the inner rebirth. This is why you look different. It's not makeup. It's not mood. It's motion. The motion of your soul catching fire and your body learning to keep up. When your spirit aligns with divine truth, your biology follows. This is not just inspiration. It is incarnation. Your cells, your skin, your energy, they all begin to reflect the power of agreement with God. This is why the chosen ones seem to carry something people can't explain. There's a presence, a peace, a radiance. Even in silence, you communicate something eternal. Because when the Holy Spirit abides fully in a surrendered vessel, That vessel cannot go unnoticed. Jesus made this clear at the Mount of Transfiguration. He stood with Peter, James, and John, and his face shone like the sun. His clothes became white as light. But what happened on that mountain wasn't just for him. It was a preview of what happens when glory is no longer veiled. And now, as a chosen one, you are stepping into that same unveiling. No, you won't glow with light like lightning, but you will become undeniably marked. Your very presence will shift rooms. Your face will soften. Your aura will deepen, because the spirit in you has become too loud to be hidden by flesh. And this comes with both wonder and warfare. Some will be drawn. Others will feel exposed. Because your life, without trying, now reveals the absence in theirs. This is why isolation often increases during transformation. Your body starts to testify before your words ever do, and the enemy, recognizing the glow, begins to tremble. Not because of how you look, but because of what your appearance confirms. That you have aligned, that you have agreed, that you are awakened. And once the body begins to testify, the question is no longer whether you're chosen. The question becomes, what are you being prepared to carry next? Why they can't understand you anymore. There's a growing distance between you and the world around you. Not one you created, but one that formed the moment your light began to surface. People who once felt close now hesitate. Conversations turn strange. Smiles falter midway. It's not rejection, it's recognition. They recognize that something about you no longer fits the mold, even if they can't name it. You've entered a realm they can't reach. Not because you've elevated yourself, but because God elevated your spirit. And when the spirit rises, the natural realm becomes uneasy. Those around you sense something has changed, but they don't know how to explain it. They feel exposed in your presence, not because you judge them, but because your transformation reminds them of everything they've ignored in themselves. This is the moment when misunderstanding begins. They say you've changed, that you're distant, but the truth is, you've grown. And your growth became too loud for shallow spaces. Like Joseph, clothed in a coat of many colors, you didn't ask for the spotlight. But favor is visible. And visibility awakens jealousy in the hearts of those who chose stagnation. Don't be surprised when some withdraw. Don't be alarmed when they mock what they don't understand. This is not personal. It's prophetic. God is distinguishing you, not for division, but for direction. The glow you carry is a mirror, and mirrors make people uncomfortable. Because some will see beauty, but others will see what they've refused to become. Even Jesus, in his hometown, was rejected when he began to walk in power. They said, "Isn't this the carpenter's son?" Not because they didn't see his wisdom, but because their hearts couldn't handle his transformation. And so it will be with you. Your presence will challenge their patterns. Your energy will convict their apathy. Your joy will reveal their bitterness. But this distance is divine. Because when people stop understanding you, it's often the clearest sign that heaven has started unveiling who you truly are. Let the misunderstanding continue, because their confusion is only confirmation. God has moved you out of reach, because your mission is no longer about being relatable. It's about being set apart. The divine timeline reverses time itself. There's a reason why, as you grow older, people keep telling you that you look younger. Why your energy doesn't match your age. Why your glow feels untouched by the years. It's because you no longer walk according to the world's clock. You've stepped into a different timeline, a divine one. And in this timeline, time doesn't decay you, it refines you. When your spirit is aligned with heaven, your body receives new instructions. While the world races to preserve youth through effort and control, the chosen ones radiate youth through surrender and obedience. It's not because you're trying to fight time. It's because you've stopped bowing to it. Time obeys the voice of its creator. And when the creator dwells within you, the natural order begins to bend around the supernatural presence you carry. This is why Caleb, at 85 years old, could say, "I am as strong now as I was when Moses sent me out." Because strength in the kingdom is not sustained by muscle. It is sustained by mission. And mission overrides decay. The world cannot understand this because they still worship the clock. They chase serums, surgeries, and secrets, trying to hold back what God already reversed for you. They see your peace and call it luck. They see your glow and call it genetics. But what they're really witnessing is the visible impact of a life submitted to divine rhythm. And yet, there is a warning. If you begin to compare, to conform, or to crave their validation, you will re-enter the very cycle you were delivered from. You were not called to age like the world. You were called to walk in the renewal of the Spirit. And when the Spirit renews you, your body begins to tell a different story. This is why some people stare. Because you're not getting older the way they expected. You're getting deeper, stronger, brighter. Not because of what's happening around you, but because of what's being sustained within. Not everyone ages, some are activated. There is a difference between aging and awakening. The world sees time as a slow descent, but for the chosen ones, time is a call to rise. While most people wear the years as weight, you wear them as armor, forged in silence, polished in prayer, and activated by divine fire. You were not designed to wither. You were designed to witness, to carry the testimony of what it means to grow in glory instead of decline in despair. This is why you feel more alive now than you did years ago. Not because life got easier, but because the spirit inside you got louder. And when the spirit matures, the body becomes its echo. What the world calls aging well, heaven calls activation. Every year you live in alignment, your purpose deepens. Your walk becomes more intentional, your gaze more focused, and the atmosphere around you begins to respond. Because those who are chosen are not dragged by time. They are commissioned by it. You've entered the phase where God is not just renewing you, He's activating you. Your sleep restores faster. Your body recovers quicker, not because of technique, but because of timing, divine timing. You are right where heaven needs you to be, and your body knows it. Remember Sarah? The world said her time had passed, but heaven said, now. Because for the chosen, age is never a limitation. It's a stage, set for the miraculous. You are not late. You are not behind. You are ripening for impact. And your glow is not vanity. It's the signature of the Spirit saying, this one is ready. Let those who don't understand keep guessing. Because what they call unnatural is simply supernatural. Chosen for visibility, not vanity. God does not sculpt in secret what He plans to hide. When heaven marks a vessel as chosen, it does not leave that vessel buried in obscurity forever. The transformation in your body, your energy, your aura, it is not a private reward. It is a public signal. Not a signal of superiority, but of readiness. You have been made visible, not for applause, but for assignment. Your glow was never meant to serve your ego. It was meant to announce your emergence. This is why doors are opening, why attention is shifting, why people are watching you with eyes they never used before. Not because you asked for it, but because visibility is now a part of your obedience. And with that visibility comes the mantle of representation. Esther was not crowned queen simply for beauty. Her radiance was divine placement, because the palace needed a voice the throne could not ignore. So it is with you. God is bringing you before audiences, rooms, and relationships that need your presence, not for decoration, but for divine disruption. And yet, the danger is real. Because visibility without humility leads to self-glorification. This is why your refinement had to come before your recognition, so that when they see your beauty, they're really witnessing your becoming. Don't mistake this stage for a photo shoot. It's a battlefield, and your face is a weapon. Every feature touched by fire, every gesture baptized in grace. And while the world will try to label this as charm or charisma, only the Spirit knows. It's the evidence of God's craftsmanship, making you undeniable, because your mission cannot afford to be ignored. Let the light shine, not to show off your glow, but to expose what heaven is about to do through you. Because you were not transformed to be admired. You were transformed to be recognized by the ones who need your voice most. The world calls it unfair. Heaven calls it favor. You've heard it whispered behind closed doors, seen the glances that shift from admiration to suspicion, felt the tension when your presence enters a room and the atmosphere subtly changes. People sense something in you they cannot name, and instead of seeking understanding, they settle for resentment. They call it unfair. Unfair that you keep glowing while others grow weary. Unfair that your face looks rested when they've slept more hours. Unfair that your body seems untouched by the storm that aged them. But heaven never promised fairness. It promised favor. And favor is not earned by effort. It is poured upon obedience. It rests on those who said yes when no one else was watching. That's what they don't see. The yes you whispered through tears. The discipline you chose in silence. The wilderness you walked without applause. You carry favor, not because you are flawless, but because you are faithful. And that favor has made you visible. And visibility always invites scrutiny. This is why some people will pull away, why some will project their confusion as criticism. Not because you've wronged them, but because your radiance reveals their resignation. Cain looked at Abel's offering and saw favor, but instead of realignment, he chose jealousy. So too, some will look at you and see what they could have carried if they had surrendered. But you are not responsible for how others interpret your glow. You are only responsible for walking in it with reverence. Because favor is not a spotlight. It is a signal. A signal that God has chosen to move through you. And the world can either draw near in humility or turn away in pride. So walk gently among those who do not yet understand, but never dim the light heaven has placed upon you. Because what they call unfair is simply the proof that you said yes when it cost you everything. Spiritual neglect ages the soul. There is a weight some people carry that no amount of rest can lift. It clings to their face, droops their shoulders, and fills their voice with quiet defeat. They are not old by number, but by spiritual neglect. Because when the soul is malnourished, the body begins to decay in ways no doctor can diagnose. This is why the world is aging faster. Not just in skin or energy, but in hope. People have learned to maintain their image, but not their inner life. They silence the spirit and feed the flesh. And slowly, invisibly, they wear out under the weight of an unlived purpose. But the chosen ones, you were preserved by your yes. You were protected by your prayers. And while others aged under the burden of disconnection, you were strengthened by intimacy with God. Your appearance doesn't lie. It reveals alignment. Your vitality doesn't come from effort. It flows from encounter. The closer you walked with the Spirit, the more your body found a rhythm that transcended time. It's not youth. It's lightness, not illusion, but resurrection in motion. Remember Saul, who was once chosen. But because he abandoned intimacy with God, his body became agitated, his mind restless, his countenance darkened. He still wore the crown, but had lost the covering. Spiritual neglect will do that. It will leave people functioning without flourishing, existing without reflecting. This is the quiet warning that hides within your glow. The unspoken message. This is what happens when you live fully surrendered. And this is what is lost when you don't. The world wants the results without the refinement, but heaven will never separate glory from process. So when others ask what you're doing differently, know this: it was never about routines or rituals. It was about remaining rooted in the presence that restores you from the inside out. The absence of spiritual devotion will always show itself, eventually, but so will its abundance. And your life is now proof that when the soul is nourished, time becomes irrelevant. And aging, as the world knows it, no longer applies. This change is not for you. It's for the kingdom. You are not transformed just to admire your reflection. This glow, this vitality, this inexplicable freshness in your spirit and body, it is not a personal prize. It is a public assignment, a signal from heaven that you've been commissioned to represent something greater than yourself. The world will try to reduce it to appearance. They'll say, "You've never looked better." But what they're really sensing is that you've never carried more light. God did not renew your body to impress the mirror. He renewed it so that your presence could interrupt darkness without a word. Because in a world obsessed with surface, God uses your transformation to speak of substance. Your face becomes a message. Your peace becomes a bridge. Your energy becomes an invitation. You are now walking evidence of what happens when a life is fully yielded to divine purpose. This is what made Daniel stand out in Babylon. He wasn't just wise, he was radiant. His appearance testified to a discipline rooted in devotion. He refused the king's portion and chose the path of consecration. And God rewarded him with strength and clarity far beyond his peers, not for vanity, but because Daniel's body had to reflect the authority of his assignment. So it is with you. Your physical renewal is part of your witness. It is how God draws the hungry and confronts the proud. Some will see your transformation and ask what you've changed. But the answer isn't what, it's who. You are being prepared to stand before kings, to walk into rooms where your appearance precedes your voice and your glow speaks before your name is ever known. Don't underestimate what God is doing with your form. Because while others are chasing relevance, you are becoming a living revelation. And what they see on the outside is just the beginning. Because what's about to be revealed through you is a kingdom too radiant to be ignored, the reflection of glory. There is a moment in every chosen life when the outer vessel begins to reflect the inner throne. You feel it before you see it. The sense that something in you has shifted beyond the reach of language. Then one day, someone looks at you and says, "You look different." But the truth is, they're not seeing you. They're seeing what's been poured into you. This is the holy aftermath of surrender. It's what happens when your life becomes a dwelling place for glory. Your face softens, not from luxury, but from letting go. Your eyes shine, not from makeup, but from knowing who you are. Your body holds a lightness the world cannot fake, because it comes from a yoke that is easy and a burden that is light. You are now the carrier of what Moses touched on the mountain, not in passing, but in permanence. Because the Spirit no longer visits you, He dwells in you, and that indwelling has changed your structure. You walk lighter, stand taller, move with reverence. You are a reflection of glory, not because you chased the light, but because you chose to be consumed by it. This is the mystery the world can't explain. It's why your age doesn't show the way it should, why fatigue doesn't stick, why your energy doesn't drain like theirs does. Because you are no longer fueled by circumstances. You are sustained by assignment. This glow is not temporary. It will not fade with trends or time. Because it's not yours. It's the signature of the one who lives within you. And He does not fade. You are His mirror, His message, His vessel. And now, your body reflects what your soul has always carried, the undeniable presence of the living God. There is something sacred about a life that begins to glow without trying. When the world sees youth, but heaven sees yielding. When others call it beauty, but God calls it readiness. And when your reflection stops looking like who you used to be, because your spirit has stepped into who you were always meant to become. This change is not cosmetic. It is covenant. It is the evidence that the potter has not only shaped your soul, he has chosen to let that shaping be seen. But perhaps the deeper mystery is this. Why would a God so powerful choose to reveal his glory through fragile flesh? Why place such holy evidence in something so temporary as skin? The answer may be hidden in his desire, not to make you admired, but to make you available. A vessel of wonder that causes the watching world to pause and ask, what light is this? And where does it come from? You are walking proof that God still marks his own. That transformation is possible. That purpose has a pulse. And that those who walk with him don't just carry his spirit. They reflect his image. So here is your prophetic seal. You have been touched by glory, and it shows. You are not just changing. You are being revealed. You are chosen, and your body now bears the signature of that calling. If this message stirred something in your spirit, if you felt seen, called, or awakened in any way, support this sanctuary by liking the video and subscribing to Chosen One's Sanctuary. It helps this message reach others who are walking through their own divine unveiling. Leave a comment below and tell us what part of this mystery resonated with you most, or share the signs that your transformation has already begun. We are building a space for deep reflection, honest connection, and prophetic understanding. And your voice belongs here. May the light within you never be hidden again. And may your reflection continue to bear witness to the one who is shaping you from glory to glory. Until next time, stay radiant and stay ready.